Hello, my name is Ed. I am the founder and chief consultant with Test Prep Consulting, and today we are going to be talking about ACT English and what do you do if you don't have the money in your budget for tutoring or prep resources. I think we can all attest to the fact that test prep resources can be very expensive. And after COVID caused a lot of schools to turn to remote learning, we see that there are a lot of children that need extra help outside of the classroom. And I think a lot of the test prep service companies saw this and had to create more and more resources for children. And because of this, that also costs a lot of money to develop. And so a lot of the prices for these things that may have been utilized a lot more often than the past are a little harder to get a hold of now because of the cost. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. What can we do to prepare for ACT English if we don't have the money in our budget for tutoring resources? So before we get started, I just want to let you know that it's actually very relevant to this topic, is that I've actually developed a guide to free ACT resources. This is a completely free guide, and I want to give it to you for free just for joining us today, whether you are listening on podcasts or you're joining us and watching the video on YouTube. This is a completely free guide. I think it's a real must-have. To get that guide from me, just go to the link. It's in the description for both the video and for the podcast. Download that guide. It's a real easy read. It's like maybe 10 pages. It's on a PDF, very broad, very general, but it will get you in a real good state of mind as to what you can do to prepare overall if you're looking for some free resources. Let's talk about what are we going to do about ACT English if we don't have the money in our budget for tutoring. I'm going to give you 4 tips that I think are crucial to your approach and what you're going to want to do. Okay, let's start with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is you need to run to your library right now. Okay, wait, not right now, but after you watch this video or after you listen to this podcast. The library is going to be your number 1 resource when you're looking for free materials, because all you need is the library card, and then you can look at anything for free or rent out anything for free. And there is a lot of stuff there. So yes, there are books that are tailored specifically to punctuation, grammatical rules, and English that you would learn in school. Yes, there absolutely are. But a large majority of these libraries are also going to have ACT prep books. I live in a town where there's about 50,000 people. And if you were to walk into our public library, you would see probably 24 ACT test prep books that are covering all the sections. Some are on specific verbal sections or on the math and science section. And they seem to be there a lot. I'm not sure why, because it is like gold. It is absolute gold. And I'll get into these a little bit more later. But those resources are tailor-made just for ACT prep. And the best part about these books is that they will have some sort of organization to them, right? Sometimes if you go online and you look at resources online, you are going to get piecemeal stuff, little tips here and there. And it might be like when you're on any other social media and you're scrolling and you get random things here and there, and there's not a lot of organization. These prep books will be able to present this information to you in a way that's organized. But even if you don't have prep books at your library in that fashion, even the school books that would be related to understanding conventions of standard English, understanding sentence structure and punctuation and grammatical rules, even those things will be very helpful. And they're all at your library and they are all free. So number 1 tip, check out your library. Okay, tip number 2. Tip number 2 is that you should be reading the newspaper, either in print or online, often. Now, you probably say, I'm reading all the time, I'm reading online. Well, there's not a lot of editorial departments when it comes to things that are published online. And newspapers pride themselves very much on being very grammatically correct and presenting information in the most proper way possible. And a lot of those things are going to obviously be in the printed paper, but that will translate to online. So you could probably trust a number of the newspaper resources that are online. Although I would have to say I would still trust the print version most, because anything that's published online can easily be updated if there's a mistake. So they can be a little bit more loosey-goosey with the editing process. But if you're putting something in print and it's being distributed either citywide, statewide, or nationwide, you can't go back and change that. So there's going to be a lot of scrutiny as to what is actually written. Now, you're probably saying, Ed, why are you talking about newspaper resources? Well, newspaper articles are going to be the closest thing you see to English passages. They are short and succinct, maybe only a page long, short paragraphs, sentences that get right to the point, and obviously always grammatically correct. So the more that you read these and get used to reading that kind of writing, the easier it's going to be for you to read passages in the ACT English exam. They are written very much like newspaper articles, in length and in style and in tone, especially when we're talking about passages that are very factual in nature. So the more that you can read and get used to reading that kind of material, the better you're going to be able to perform on the exam. So again, tip number 1 was check out your library for free resources there. And tip number 2 is that you should try to read the newspaper, preferably the print version, which should also be available at your library. Read it as often as you can. Okay, tip number 3. Remember those books that I said you can get for free at the library, or that you can look at for free at the library? You can also get these very low cost on eBay or on Amazon. So that's tip number 3. Find these prep books in low cost ways, either on Amazon or eBay. I went on eBay the other day and I found a number of ACT prep books. Normally that would be $29, $39, $49. I found them for $4 and $5. And yes, these may be used, but that's okay. They are going to be worth their weight in gold. And it doesn't matter what edition that you get, okay? They are, 500-600 pages worth of material that you can go through. And in the English section, it's vital because you want to be exposed to as many grammatical mistakes and errors as you can so that you can look at them and learn from them. Some prep books are going to be nothing but tests. So keep in mind that you can get books like that, or you can get books that are a little bit more focused on teaching you the different content areas. So again, and those $4 or $5 books on eBay, like they were with free shipping even. You could spend, what you would normally spend on a couple of coffees and get 3 or 4 books delivered right to you completely free. And it's the same kind of stuff that you would get tutored on at a lot of the test prep service places. So that's a great resource. That's tip number 3. Tip number 4 is going to be pretty common with a lot of my videos, and that is to utilize practice passages, okay? Even if you're not getting taught content at a learning center or at a boot camp or from a private tutor, the more familiar that you are with the exam, the better you're going to be able to perform. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by utilizing practice passages. You can get those practice passages on those test prep books that you would get for free at the library. You would get them for free from those low-cost books that you can find on eBay or on Amazon. You can find practice questions online. You can even find in some places full-length practice tests. The ACT website even has a free practice test. So utilizing that as much as possible, that's going to be your number 1 tool. The more you practice, the better that you're going to be able to get. That's why a lot of those test prep services will say, oh, we guarantee that you're going to get 4 or 5 points higher. Of course you're going to, because if you take the test for the first time and you don't know that much about it, and then you're able to learn content and take more practice tests, by the time you finish, of course you're going to get a higher score. That's a no-brainer. So those practice tests are going to be your number 1 tool. And you can get those either for free at the library when you rent those library books out, and you can usually rent out multiple books at a time, or you can get them if you get those low-cost books through eBay or Amazon. So again, top 4 tips. Number 1, run to your library, okay? Number 2, find a newspaper and read it as much as possible. Again, you can get these for free at the library or in other places. Some of these things are online as well. Number 3, look at eBay, Amazon, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, all of these different places for low-cost resources. They will be worth a lot to you in the end. And then number 4, utilize free practice passages, whether it be in these books or find them on different websites online. If you can do those 4 things, you'll be able to get just as much out of it as a lot of people would working with a private tutor that has to utilize their own resources. Where do you think that a lot of these tutors get their resources from? You are going to be able to find that these things will make a world of difference for you. And I hope you're able to get something out of this. Again, visit my link. You'll be able to download a quick guide to free ACT resources. It's a 10-page PDF. It's in the description of both the video and the podcast. I think it will be very much worth your time to check it out. And I wish you the best of luck on the exam.